All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a quick look at our current goal, what we're working towards. Let's go ahead and see that. And what we're doing is we're basically, we'll move this down so we can flip-flop. We're going to go from our guy here, and let's go ahead and open Inspector as well. Make sure we don't have any errors going on. And we're going to go from our guy here to putting him onto a little hill and putting a gradient background in so that we have kind of that sky effect. And we're going to move our snowman down onto our hill. So let's go ahead and let's get started with that. And we'll keep flip-flopping out here to localhost as we move along. So the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and put our hill in, get our hill positioned, because that's the only change to our index.html file. So let's go ahead and let's start there. We'll open up our Dreamweaver. We see that we're in our right branch. Let's open up our index.html. We can see we're in design view, and if we go ahead and we go into our split view, and let's do code live so that we get our true effect of what we're looking at. First thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to come up here in the top, and I want to comment out where the snowman begins, just because we want to have that there. As we grow, it makes it a lot easier to go ahead and look in our code and see things that we're doing. Everything looks good as far as that goes. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our hill. And our hill is going to be nothing more than a div with a class attached to it. And we're actually going to go ahead and put that hill right below the snowman's feet, because we want it to be a part, this one hill to be a part of the snowman, so that the snowman always is sitting on top of a hill. And we'll go ahead and we'll comment that, and if we hit save, we can see nothing really has changed in here. And the reason that it has not changed is because of the fact that all we have now is a div with no style to it. Now that I've done that and we're done in our index, I'm going to go ahead and apply source formatting, which will just clean up our code a little bit and allow us to continue working. So now we have a couple style changes, and our style changes, the first thing that we really want to do is we want to go ahead and in our snowman put a margin on the body of 0. So in other words, we want our the body, the CSS on the body, to basically, we want to take control of it, because what we're going to do is we're going to put a width of 100%, and we're going to put a height of 100%, and that's going to open up the window for us, the body to the window. And essentially we're going to say that we want to use 100% of that viewport area, and anything that exceeds that viewport area, we want to hide it. So we're going to go ahead and use overflow hidden, which is what was part of what was in our lesson. Additionally, because we're going to be changing colors and things of that nature, we're going to go right ahead and we're going to say that what we want is our color of our text to always be white. We're not putting any text in right now, but what we are doing is positioning ourselves to manage any text that we put in it, and we want it to show up as white. The next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll just put a background color of blue in there. And the reason we're putting the background color in there is in case other things don't work out for us, because we want that gradient, we want that feel of the sky to take over the background as we position our things on it. But it definitely, if all else fails, we'll leave that black background color there, and the worst case scenario is we just end up with a solid blue sky. So we learned a little bit about gradients, and we're going to start applying our gradients inside of our body, and we have to do that a couple ways, because gradient is one of those things that historically has been in a test mode for most browsers. So what we're adding is our background image, and the way that we add the gradient is we're just saying background image, and because what it does is the browser actually creates an object that's similar to an image. And now that we've done this, what we've done is we essentially covered all our bases on WebKit, Mozilla for that gradient to work. And then of course we did it, the background image gradient, to overwrite any of these that are now no longer in test mode or no longer in experimental mode. So let's save that there and let's go take a look. And let's see how we're progressing along here. So let's clear cache. Make sure that you empty the cache because of the fact that we're dealing with CSS and too often we end up with issues with CSS. All right, good. So we see that we have a break down here. That's fine. We're going to take care of that in a little minute here. We'll go back out and we'll go into our Dreamweaver again. And at this point, we want to add basically for the entire site, for the entire web page, we want to tell browsers to completely put that scroll bar away. And the way that we do that is by display and then none. And what we'll see that does for us if we hit save, we come out and we refresh. Now in this case we're not getting a scroll bar, but if we were to shrink up the page we would definitely get a scroll bar and we would not see it at this point because we went ahead and we put that in. But this will all be taken care of in a minute as we add more CSS. And before we do anything else, we're going to go and we're going to address our snowman. And we're going to, what we're going to do to our snowman as a whole is we're going to tell it that we want it to text align to center, which we basically already have going on. But we want to make sure that we're telling it to do that because we always want it in the center of our screen. And so we're telling that entire object, that entire div, snowman div, to go ahead and text align into center and keep everything in the middle. We're also going to use our position property in here. And the reason that we're going to do this is because as we start to add things, we don't want the snowman to be moved by anything that falls into our viewport area. We want the snowman to always stay. We want to put it on the bottom of the screen. And so what we're doing is we're taking that, we're doing minus 300 pixels. And I would encourage you to go ahead and play with these numbers. I'm basically just putting these in to help us get to where we want to be. But by playing with these, we start to see how different things impact. And one of the things that we can absolutely see at this point is what we're ending up with is that our snowman is falling down below the bottom of the page. So we'll just keep playing with it until we get to where we want to, till we get to that point that we want to be at. And what we can do now is we can come back out to our CSS and we see that our snowman is now falling underneath the page. And part of the reason that we did that is because of how it sits there. So the next thing that we want to do, so the styles for our hill, essentially we'll deal with the rest once we see how the styles for our hill impact everything else. Meaning right now that hill's down there, it's playing a part in the equation, and we want to make sure that that equation is taken care of and that we get it to where we want it to be. And so I'm going to come all the way down here, and below the feet I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in a class for the hill. And you'll start to see the minus 300 above that we put in for the snowman itself was positioning it for the hill itself. So what we did is we went ahead and we added styles. We told the hill that we want a border on top. We told it that we want it to be a width of 300%. And then we shifted it over 150%, telling it to move over on the page, and a minimum height of 100 pixels. We put some padding around it, and we put a border radius on it of 50%. We do our border left color, right color, because we only want the border showing on the top. We don't care about the bottom because we're tucking that underneath the page. And then of course we want the color to be a whiter snow, a white snow. So if we save this at this point and we come out and we take a look at where we're at on our local host, we can see now that our snowman essentially has become exactly what we were looking for. Our gradients are not setting off the way that we want them to, so let's go take a look at that. This is what we're after. This is where we're at. And so we need to just go and take another peek at our gradients. And one of the big things that we want to do as well is what we did with the body. We want to go ahead and do with HTML itself, meaning the entire HTML element. And what was happening there is the actual HTML tags was not allowing the body to open up as far as we wanted to on that height. So by telling HTML to broaden out vertically and to hide the overflow as well, it allows those gradients that we put into the body to go ahead and set themselves out. And at this point now we have achieved those gradients that we were looking for, and we have completed our project for this step. And at this point, we'll go ahead, we'll look on localhost again, we'll do an inspect because we want to check for errors, and we also want to do a good refresh, solid refresh. And I believe at this point we are actually good to go. So our final step would be just to save our file one last time and close it out. Make sure that all changes are saved. Now, if you notice, we actually didn't have all changes saved. So let's go and take a look again. Let's re-inspect and just retest. Make sure that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. There's no errors. If I close this and compare it to my target, I'm there. I'm good. We're good to go. So again, now all our files are closed in Dreamweaver. We can see the two files that have changed. And what we want to do is go ahead and do a git status. We see those files have changed, so we're going to do git add to add those files to the staging area. If we do git status again, we can see that they're added. And so we'll go ahead and do git commit with a message, and we'll just put in there added Snow Hill and background for snowman. Moved the little guy down to the bottom of the page. And added styles for HTML element. Period. And I believe I spelled commit wrong, so we'll go ahead and do try git commit again. Silly me. We'll go ahead. You can't up arrow or you'll. And there, our git commit has taken place. So we'll do git status again, and we are good to go. So we'll go ahead and do our push and push our branch, merge, and push to production next video.